say, then you can get started. Good morning from Nashville, Tennessee. My name is Mike Blinder, and I am the publisher of E&P Magazine. Those of you that don't know us, if you look us up in Wikipedia, they say we're the Bible of the newspaper industry, but I think we're a lot more than that. We talk to three different segments. We have actually bullets that we all hit here by here. Someone who must produce journalism or news, someone who needs to find an audience for that journalism and news, and someone who needs to monetize it. And we are honored and pleased to have you attend what we call a sponsored webinar. Guys, some of you may know I host a very popular vodcast series every week, but this is a chance where we spotlight, we don't like to call them advertisers, we call them our marketing partners, because E&P is a tough job, staying in business, keeping the doors open and the lights on, which is we're actually virtual. That was a metaphor. Anyway, it's a hard job. So being in business, as we all know, as executives is tough. And having people who support us, like the fine folks at NSS, is great. But first, it's my job now to do some housekeeping. So the first thing I'm going to show you is the current gas prices now in Nashville, Tennessee. We're at 366. This is always a very low state. For those of you that are watching this webinar years later, because we post them forever, today's official date is March 19th, and we're in the middle of a kind of a gas crisis. We don't buy the regular stuff. My wife goes to Costco. So right now we're at 329. About a month ago, she was paying 2.25. That's what's happened down here. So she's not happy. Now, why did I bring up gas prices? Because it's part of our housekeeping. Let me see if I can explain that. At the bottom of your screen in Zoom, you'll notice that there are different options to communicate with our panel today. I don't know what raise a hand means, so we're not going to use that one. We're going to use chat, and we're going to stay in the chat arena. But here's the problem with Zoom, if I may be so bold. Zoom defaults chat the moment you click on it to host and panelists. That's me, that's Mary, that's PJ, and that's Lon. I don't want it that way. What I want you to do in the chat room is to move that to everyone. So during the next hour in our journey, we can have a lively conversation in there, and you have the right to tell us we're full of hooey. You actually can go into the chat room, say, I disagree, or ask your own questions. Some fine people are in there as well from NSS, our sponsor, who will provide links and answers to your questions as well. So to test if you know how to use chat, tell me your current gas price in the city you're in right now, just for fun. That's a good idea, isn't it? Everybody, even our panelists, just let us know what you paid last at the pump, because it's all over the place. And if you're from California, you get an abstention, because I know yours is always high. Now, with that being said, I think I'm being paid today to start a webinar, and I really want to do that, but I got to make sure my Word document is up and I do this correctly. So here we go. If you talk to any publisher right now, you're held the same challenge. Subscription growth isn't getting easier. Acquisition costs keep rising. Audiences are more fragmented than ever, and competition for attention is relentless. As a matter of fact, just 2 weeks ago, I was honored to have Fran Wills, CEO of the Local Media Consortium, on my vodcast series. And one of the findings in their latest study, and this is really, really interesting because they've been polling for years the challenges and what's bugging the most out of the publishers in the news industry. And the subscription retention has risen over 300% in their current surveys. That doesn't mean that we're not getting subscription money. It doesn't mean we're not getting audience revenue. It means it's a huge challenge right now. And you're allowed to say duh, because I think we all know that. So when you think about it, this industry may be discovering what newspapers learned decades ago. There's always been a ceiling on how many people in a community will actually pay for the content we crave. But we know for a fact that is content people crave. Everywhere you look for any research, people want our news. They want the content that cost us so much to create. But how can we get people to stay with us, subscribe with us, and support it through that one of many, if I can use that old metaphor, many legs on the stool? So that's today's conversation. We're going to take a close look at one of my favorite operations, the Post and Courier in South Carolina. And they're driving really high subscription growth right now, combining strong journalism and a very thoughtful subscriber experience. Joining us today, and this is my honor and pleasure to bring in, is, can I call you a friend, PJ? Is that,
Absolutely.
I,
Yes.
I, you and I go way back. When I
We
took
do.
over EMP in 2019, and I don't have an image of it, you were my first publisher of the year. It was like a month after I took the magazine, and we did our and I handed you that surprise award. I think we were in Chicago just as America's Newspapers was unveiling itself. So I've
Yep.
known you a long time, but we also do a lot of reporting in what you do there. You are not your title doesn't say Post and Courier. It's actually president of the newspaper division in Evening Post Publishing. Do I have that correct?
Yes. Yes, sir.
Now,
Yes.
your cohort in crime here is Mary Fox. In other words, you get to sit back and eat bonbons and do very little. Mary does all the heavy lifting, right? She's the one
Yeah.
doing the real work. Mary is in charge of, I love this title, Mary, Subscriber Experience Manager at the Post and Courier. And joining me is, I guess I can call you an old friend. Can I not, Lon? You and I go way back. Is that right, sir?
We go way back.
I
We've
mean,
done
we
it
go.
all together.
Yeah.
I mean, advertising, audience, publishing. I mean, you name it.
Okay, so and we also appreciate the wonderful. Lon is Chief Client Officer at Newspaper Subscription Services. We never say that. We call it NSS. That name has been around for a while in this industry, and you help support so many initiatives when it comes to the big topic of today. So, with that being said, let's get to work. Remember that chat room is there, and I'm going to kick things off with PJ. PJ, you are a familiar voice in this industry. You sit on tons of panels, you do the convention circuit, you're always out there reinventing what you do. Tell us now about how your leadership is focused on creating sustainable journalism, not just in your home city but across the entire state, if you don't mind.
Yeah, thank you. And thanks for having us. We're always happy to be a participant here and share what we're doing and hopefully get some good ideas along the way as well. But, really, as we talked about the Post and Courier, it was COVID. We all saw revenue, decline dramatically in those first few months after COVID. So there were two things. We needed to expand to be able to really have a sustainable readership base, and we felt like we had a good brand to do that. But the other thing is we started seeing news deserts form throughout the state, whether there was regionalization going on or newspapers closing. And we're all about journalism in South Carolina. So it was really how do we set up local news organizations across the state. Today we have 9 expansion markets, and then we have 8 community papers. So while they're each their own individual newspapers, we also were able to share scale investigative journalism, business, our arts and culture lab, our education lab, Rising Waters lab. So we really have been able to hopefully do the both best of both worlds in combining efficiencies, and certainly on the circulation side, having Mary on the retention side has been incredible. And I'll just give you a headline to keep you interested in this seminar. Our churn rate, and we really work very hard, Mary works very hard on this, but our churn rate will range anywhere from 1.9% to 2.2%. And it's a really great churn rate. And that just means we're doing the right things for people who want to stay engaged with us.
I Those numbers are unbelievable. So let's go to the star today. I mean, PJ, you always are a star. But
No,
Mary, tell us about your role and what drives your passion for serving and supporting the subscribers for the content that you guys work so hard to create.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, and I echo PJ here, and thank you guys for having us today. So my role is obviously retention. That is with the Post and Courier is how I started out. But I also help with the Aiken Standard and all of our community papers statewide. And then I also oversee customer service. That's a more recent change, and I think that's worth mentioning because that's part of our strategy. We're aligning what customer service does and how they do it with our retention marketing. So what drives me? Oh, I mean, the retention, getting people to come back and continuing to read this paper that is so crucial and has led to so much positive change, legislation, awareness that people wouldn't know otherwise. So I really am driven to keep them coming back. And I am, very deep into the data in understanding each individual subscriber. What do they need? What do they want? And reaching them wherever they are. So you'll commonly see something sort of like this, regardless of what publisher that you look at, or really what business that you look at. This is ours. It's not everything that we do, but this is a good little snapshot. So this is our subscriber journey. It's taken 5 years plus in the making, but we have all of these steps in place. And just the long story short is I want to reach subscribers where they are and give them content, give them benefits, and give them whatever is going to be the most valuable to them so that they keep coming back and reading our publication with so many choices available.
How often is this slide coming up in meetings with the team, PJ, if I may ask? I mean, did you have Mary craft this so you could explain this? I mean, does editorial care about this? I mean, does the guy that washed the floors care about that? I mean, how important is when you had this entire journey crafted, how often are you sharing this puppy?
Yeah. So, I like to say we do not do things and put them on a shelf. This is a live, active document. So our team, obviously Mary's in it every day, but we are reviewing this as a digital team. We have a small digital team across department function that we review this. We review it every week. Mary sends out reports daily. And I'm a part of that group that sees this, and we're constantly looking at it. So it is in our daily discussions, our weekly discussions. Then from a overall employee base, they get an update every quarter on how we're performing. But we're proud of the growth, and we're proud of the churn numbers and what we've been able to do with ARPU and all those things that go into digital.
So you share the success across the entire organization.
Yes.
And I think that's important. I mean, because good management means hierarchy of needs, whatever. Everybody wants to be part of the plan. You just don't want to be dictated to. So I think that's, in my opinion, that most probably is one of the reasons, if I may be so bold, that you're doing so well, is everybody's got buy-in, into this. So let's enter now the master of all this, the brainiac. That's Lon. Lon, tell me a little bit more about NSS. How do you help publishers grow retention and subscriptions? I mean, what is your role in all of this? And give us what I like to call the elevator pitch, if I should be so bold.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for having us on, Mike. And thank you very much to our partners in Charleston, Mary and PJ. Thank you so much. And good morning and good afternoon, wherever you're tuning in from. It's great to have you all on the podcast today. Really, Mike, at NSS, we believe in keeping things simple. NSS has been around for 25 years, still owned by Frank Vega, who is in the audience listening in. So we're going to try to do a great job, and really acquisition and retention to support the Post and Courier and all of our partners out there. And I'm not going to do a whole lot of talking today. I'd really like our distinguished guests to tell the story, but we're very, very grateful for their partnership and the ideas that come out of our brainstorming meetings. And we meet with the team on about a biweekly basis. And service is really the foundation that NSS was built on and that it still operates on. So you see a lot of our team. You see a lot of Kevin Lacobe, you see Mark, you see Cherie, you see myself on teams as we optimize and we reset what the strategy is from you, our partners. And that's what it is. The last slide you showed, Mike, that is Mary and PJ's strategy, and we humbly support it. And we provide, there it is again, thank you, the best service that we can to help them exceed their goals. You heard about a sizzling retention number. We're going to talk a lot about retention in the next 45 minutes. But real quickly with NSS, and if you could forward to the next slide, Mike, we have no onboarding fees, no setup fees, no hosting fees. You're not required to buy a service block. Rather, we are what we say in 100% alignment with our partners. We don't even charge for onboarding or setup. And if anyone has negotiated or signed contracts or onboarded various technology platforms or marketing platforms, we know that onboarding sometimes, not always, but sometimes is a big piece of that. Well, we just don't believe in that at NSS. We like to say, when you do better, we do better. We only charge, much like Visa or MasterCard, just a very small one-time fee for a transaction that we provide. And if it's a bogus, you can even charge it back. So there is really no risk. And even if you decide to onboard us and put us on the shelf for a period of time, which happens a lot, you don't pay. You only pay when you use us, and we're not a revenue share. Another really nice feature we have, if you could go to the next slide, one more slide, Mike, is we're really proud of the 25 years, really quarter of a century that we've been, and we've really done our best to make a partner of all the other partners that you probably work with already. And efficiency and reducing the churn on staff and the burn on the staff is so important. We have an integration with Newsware, with Naviga. That means as we're creating payments, new subscriptions, retention orders, even online cancel intervention, and we'll talk a little bit about that. All of our partners tell us it is so key. Like, we don't have scads of people sitting around the office waiting to put in 300, 400, 500 transactions a day. Is there a way that you can push those right into the system? And yes, we have automated that. And then real finally, my quick third slide is with Mary and PJ's business. They are in the pillar of our platform that drives new subscriber starts with online marketing. It's a completely seamless, automated process. From the retention side, they're big believers, as you know, in strong retention, low churn. So they're part of our subscriber win-back series. And one of our newest products, which is also in the retention field, and that's our online cancel intervention. And we'll have Mary talk more about that a little bit later on.
I love this.
And then
I love
Mary,
this slide. This is because this shows so simply what you do, right? I mean, you're just
absolutely,
yeah.
absolutely. And they are, for the most part, involved in nearly all of the spokes of that wheel. And they keep pushing us, Mike. Mary came to a biweekly brainstorming call, and she said, yeah, I really like this idea of selling renewals before the expire date. So, I think you use the word geek world. We refer that to pre-expire. So we've developed with them a pre-expire series. Again, it is Mary and PJ strategy. We are here to support it, and we are there to help reduce burnout on staff and reduce cost in those types of marketing programs.
So let's swing it over to folks. By the way, your boss, Frank, did post something in the chat room, and I love it. He said, NSS equals 25 years of faithful service to the publishing industry. But Frank, you blew it. You posted just to the panelists. You gotta do it to everyone. That's why I did the exercise on the gas prices. So let's go now get to the case study. Let's go to PJ. Every publisher today is facing subscriber acquisition challenges. Duh. Some have given up on it altogether, as we know. What unique hurdles have you encountered in attracting and growing your subscriber base, PJ? What are the challenges?
Yeah, well, there are many, right? But I still think today what we're faced with from a publisher standpoint is just the noise that's out there because, I can get news on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, whatever the new flavor that you might enjoy. So one of our strategies, and I've heard this now at a couple of different seminars, and it's so true, that content is king, which we have always believed that content is king, and we put a lot of emphasis on it. But now, if content is king, platforms and distribution is King Kong. So I think what our team does around the distribution of the content, taking a story across multiple different distribution channels, has proven really invaluable to us. Whether you're seeing us on Nextdoor, you're seeing us on Instagram, we're starting that relationship with you about the content that we have, and we keep our dashboards so that we see where that content is coming in, where those subscribers are coming in. We're doing those offers based on the lifetime value, likelihood to subscribe. So there's just a lot of things that go into this. But what we do know is if we just kept doing what we used to do, writing a story, publishing it, or putting it in the newspaper online, it's just not enough. So, and obviously having good content, relevant content
But see,
is important.
I get asked that all the time. I mean, all right, what's the secret sauce now? Where is that sustainability coming from? And I always answer it the same way. Maybe you disagree. I mean, I'm setting you up to hopefully agree with me. Start with good content. Tell a
Yeah.
good story. I mean, that's first. And every time we see a successful media company that's getting all those legs on the stool working, or they're still doing good journalism. Do you agree? It's then you just get creative in how you distribute it, right?
Right. And you have to, it starts with the story. But, again, today, the beauty is we have all this technology. It tells us how long somebody spent on reading the story. Right. I mean, we have one of the things I think that we did that was really smart. It's, you got to educate those that are writing those stories. So each reporter has their own individual dashboard so they can see how they're performing. And at the end of the day, the content, somebody writes a story, they want people to read it. So it's a marriage made in heaven whenever that happens. So giving that information to the reporter, I think, has been invaluable.
I got to go on. I got to ask this, and Lon, this deviates from your topic, but man, I'm the publisher of E&P. What say you, PJ, to those that say no? I do not want to see the numbers. I'm going to continue my journey to tell people the news they need to know, and I'm not going to look at the shares and the clicks and all. What say you as a publisher of a successful news operation to that
Yeah.
person?
I mean, for us, that's easy. There would be an end to the roadway or an end to the runway for us. So I guess if you've got enough money to make that happen and you want to do your own thing, more power to you. But we've got to stay relevant with our audience and what they want to read. And I think the proof for us is in ARPU. We'll hit. I love this. But when you take Mary's work and you take your ARPU, we know that we have to have a higher rate for our content and not a lower rate. That helps Mary on the churn side. When we have low rate, high churn, we have people that pay more. They're more likely to stay with us.
There you go.
And Mary's churn, I'll just give you this as an example. Mary's churn rate has stayed so low, and she just came through a wave of a lot of subscribers. So we budgeted our number to be lower. And on March 17th, she hit March budget's number just because of the good work she does.
Mary,
So,
this is it. You're getting a raise in pay after this.
yeah.
All right. So Mary, let's dive into this. I mean, once subscribers come in the door, that's what people want to know now is the nuts and bolts. Retention becomes critical. You and I, same thing in sales, right? It costs more to get a new customer than to keep an existing one happy. How has let's sell Lon a little here. How has the tools that Lon has provided help keep those subscribers engaged and stay longer with your content, Mary?
Yeah. Easy question for me. I feel like NSS just came with such a reputation. It caught our eye immediately, and we looked at their capabilities. We are big on personalization. We're big on efficiency. And then, something that Lon said early on when we started working together was, you're only going to pay for what we acquire, and we want you to acquire so we both win. And I think that kind of resonates. We didn't want to be punished if something wasn't working. And if something's not working, Lon is the first one to call up and say, hey, let's get together. I have Kevin on the call. Like, let's meet and see what we can do. So I think it's that relationship that they understand us. We have spoken about it. They ask, has our strategy changed? No. Okay. Well, here's this idea. And I think just having that flexibility, we don't have a large team. I saw somebody in the chat asked, do you work with community, like smaller publishers? And, some of our papers are quite small. We treat them all individually. And I would say we don't have a large team. It started with just me. I used to say retention party of one. So I think that you might be a perfect case study for, using a service like NSS, because they're going to help you implement things. They're going to be very quick. And the other thing that I wanted to make sure to mention, two things. One, Lon mentioned this, but they integrated with our circulation system, which is Newsware. So that was big because it saved us a lot of time in actually going and making those changes. And two, so we thrive on the data that we can get. So the reporting, the tracking, the dashboards, yes, please, and then some. So I want to see them. I want to see how we're doing. Is it a particular email? Is it a particular piece of a campaign? And then we can diagnose and see what's wrong with it, make changes. And it just allows us to be a lot more fluid and allows us to do our favorite word, pivot. So
I, you got to. I mean, this is not a stagnant industry by any stretch of the imagination, and there's always a new competitor. Am I right, PJ? I mean, there's always when an ankle biter coming into the market. And you got to hold every subscriber near and dear. So yeah, and is that how you guys collaborate? Are you guys always working together, trying to be? Do you have? I mean, how do you guys work together in all this, PJ?
No, yeah, definitely. I mean, Mary and I always love my emails from Mary, and there's great detail, right? Yes. So, and I don't know, I probably get almost one a day, but it's one of those things that we just are watching this, so we collaborate very closely. And I think the news team also collaborates with Mary, and we have the advantage of Mary truly loves news. So she's staying engaged with us, and I think understands it from both the business side and the news side, and I think that's a plus. But from the digital team to Mary's integration with that, it's an ongoing, very big part of our business. And like she said, with Lon, you just feel like with his company and what they've been able to do to support us, it's a +1 or a +2 that's really been invaluable to us.
All right, I'm going to use a dirty 6-letter word now. Cancel. All right. I mean, Mary, how do you deal with cancel? You don't want that cancel. So everyone wants to understand cancel prevention, but you want to balance the marketing services, the compliance considerations. Give us your secret sauce, if you don't mind, Mary. How are you keeping those numbers low? How are you keeping how are you avoiding those cancels?
So I think the best way to say this is not like a lot of places I've seen, and I don't just mean the newspaper industry. I tend to look a lot of places for inspiration. But one of the things that I see the most is that we start with the cancel. And I really feel like we need to be proactive. We need to start from the beginning before somebody's ever subscribed. So that's where our acquisition team and we chat all the time. What are you telling people before they ever click purchase? So, it's the proactivity, it's getting to a subscriber before canceling ever becomes a thought in their mind. So we build the foundation for what it means to have a good subscriber experience. We use a lot of feedback from our subscribers. Like I said, we have a lot of data on what they're reading, what they enjoy before they are subscribers, after they become subscribers. And then previous findings from campaigns, NSS is included. We can look at those and see how they're doing. Our main focus is on habit formation. So if we can get to them and drive that value and remind them constantly, we see that pay off in dividends. And so actually what you're seeing on the screen right now is our online cancellation flow. So NSS has, their model for this. And so we took it and we said, okay, well, here's what we want to do for the Post and Courier. And so this is a screenshot of what it looks like. We used the reasons that we kind of see commonly, and in this light, so our win back series. So I'll start with online save rate. So our online save rate currently is at 30%, but also we just started. And then if somebody takes the step of actually canceling, we see some of those conversions on win back emails as high as 50% on individual sends. So it's huge for us to continue to build that value. And so you'll see if you could click through on any of those options, all of them have their own individual save reason. And it's not always discounting. I think that's just the quick go-to, but you don't need to use that a lot. You can use the value of your product and lean into that. And people, if you start it from the beginning before they're ever with you, they'll remember that when they go to cancel, even if they cancel, even if it's just for a little bit, they'll remember each time they come back. So
I'm gonna refer to the chat for a second. One person said, "Are these slides going to be available for download?" You bet. We make it our policy at E&P because so many want to watch the recording that we hope by the end of the day to have everybody who registered will get a link to an actual write-up of this meeting, the recording of this meeting, so you can share it with anyone else on your team. And more importantly, all of the assets that you're seeing will be downloadable. Does PNC profile its subscribers? Tom has asked. I know I'm going a little off topic here, and it's in the chat, demographically, personas, et cetera. How are you looking at who each of these people are, the demography or what have you, Mary? What kind of are you looking at?
whatever way possible, what they're doing with us, what they're doing outside. I mean, demographics, do they own their homes? Do they have disposable income? For us, every bit of information is useful for us. So I can tell if they do a certain thing, then they're likely to do this. Just as an example, if they're into politics, they're probably going to be driven to social issues just in a general sense. So maybe we can push our environmental coverage or our investigative work. So we can use all of those things. But also, if they own their home, if they have a pretty good disposable income, then they could be options for us to, get additional money for our fund, which is our investigative and public service fund. So we need all of that information. And I'll also give a plug to the newsroom. They like to know what readers are reading. So if something resonates with a subscriber, we can let them know that, and they can write more of it, or they can write, the next story in the series. And so I think it's invaluable. Whatever data you can get your hands on, do it.
This is fact. And someone asked in the chat room, how do you convince the editors and reporters to care about this stuff? PJ, you were telling us during the planning call that you've got some of your editors and reporters now begging you to see after they've worked on a piece how it performed. Is that actually, you've got them motivated to see that in some cases?
Yeah, I mean, and for us on our team, our organization, we that would not be a good team player. I don't know how else to say that nicely, but that would just not be a good fit. We're in this together. We're here for a purpose, to do our news, to grow our readership base. So, if we had somebody with that attitude, it really wouldn't fit within the organization. I can see them getting like, okay, go do something you enjoy. And we really are. I mean, it's the readership, and the reason we are here is not for that person that doesn't care that we're not aligned with our communities. We feel like we just have a responsibility to our communities, and that includes the newsroom being very engaged. So
if I may use this term we've heard use all the time, no margin, no mission, right? I mean,
yeah.
got to run this like a business. I was just interviewed by a grad student in journalism and asked me what advice I would give. I said, know the business side, understand the realities of what it takes to generate news. Boy, but you guys get it. So let's get to the business side now, PJ. How does your retention strategy fit into your top and line budgeting? I mean, how important is this, as I use that metaphor before, legs on the stool, to get to that critical sustainability number? How important is this in your mix, PJ?
Yeah. And I should say this about the last question. We're really, I think, pretty transparent that we want to add journalists. Our owner is not somebody that we're not looking for a big profit margin. If we make money, we're going to put it back into reporters. So there's a purpose-driven, orientation about what we do. The money side of it, from a retention standpoint, and I've been around a long time. When you think about the print churn, and we used to have 40-50% churn, and you're spending so much money to try to just buy back that circulation all the time on the print side. We don't see those same patterns at all with the experience. If we use things like what Lon's company has to offer, and again, onboarded a lot of vendors. What I love about their company is it was very easy to get this set up and started, and that means a lot to us because we're busy people. So that churn side, just like March as an example, you know, she met our goal for March on the 17th of the month. Right. So the likelihood that, and what we do when we budget, we always budget a churn rate. I mean, you just do. So you assume that churn rate and what it's going to be, and being able to improve that is, for us, it's probably $30,000 lift just for the month, just because of that churn rate. So it has a direct financial impact. I think the other thing Mary mentioned, and what we also love about it is we feel like we can have impact in the reporting that we get. So if we know that let's say it's a win back campaign or a save rate, we can monitor that every month to see, okay, how did we do on that save rate? Did we give away the farm and give away too much? Was that save rate at 50%? Was it at 40%? Was it at 30%? So, that's training and improvement opportunities we have along the way just to continue to impact those numbers. So I think Lon's company has allowed us to just do this smarter. And at the end of the day, the reward is there and the ROI has been great.
You got people still wanting to keep you on discussing this content first strategy in the chat. And you and I discussed this during the planning session. I think I told you back in 1982, I was running a full service AM radio station with a news team of 12. And I went to an NAB convention where Fred Friendly, the producer behind Edward R. Murrow, who was still alive back then, was hosting a conversation of tell them the news they need to know versus the news they want to know. You've got a question in there. How do you balance that? I mean, enterprise journalism versus, the church supper stuff.
Yeah.
Which is more important? I'm setting you up for the perfect answer. Which is more important, PJ? Take it away.
So, okay, I'll use the county council meeting, right? We're going to cover that differently today than what we used to. But what I love about the metrics, and my team knows, my phone is my friend, but when we track like the number of people that read a story and we track how long they spent on it, I'm sorry, if 25 people read that story and I get my phone out and I set my timer and I read the story. And it's like, okay, that took me 2.5, 3 minutes to read. And the average time spent on that story was 20 seconds. Okay, folks, I don't think anybody cares except for you. So, maybe that story moves to a brief headline, but, you just can't spend the same amount of time on something people aren't going to read. So it doesn't mean that it doesn't have to be there, but the time spent on that and the expectations of that story is not that it led on the path to conversion. So can I have a news clerk do some of that? Absolutely. So I just think it's how you're managing it.
All right, so let's get down to NSS. We gotta go back and we gotta get Mary. You gotta give Lon's paying for this, so you gotta tell me what was it like working with NSS, particularly with the onboarding, the new programs, the initiatives. How much friction was there when you made the decision to bring in this incredible system that just automate? I don't want to use the automate, but just organize the entire experience for you.
Yeah, I don't even remember any friction. I feel like we sat down and goodness, Lon, what was that first chat? Like 2-3 hours tops?
Yeah.
That's usually how our conversations go because we get on a tangent. But I tell you, Lon is a wealth of knowledge. His team is a wealth of knowledge. And so, we lean on that. We can tell him, here's where we want to be. But to me, the thing that I appreciate the most is that extension of team. It feels like I have more, I'm not just relying on my ideas or our ideas internally. We can go to Lon and say, here's where we're at. And oftentimes he'll approach us or the team will approach us and say, hey, we know that this is on your roadmap, or it should be, because we think that, we can help you with this. Or it'll be an idea we have this product. Do you want to talk about it? I get so many emails of, hey, do you want to talk about this? I think it will help. And I appreciate that because, I'm over here and doing all of these other things. So to have somebody else kind of looking out for us and having our back, I can't say enough about it.
All right. So we're 2/3 through our journey here. Our audience is still urged, if we're not covering a topic that you want to hear, if you've got something to input you'd like to offer, you got a question, please get in the chat room, ask everybody that question. We'll try to do our best to address it. All right, Mary, we're going to stay with you. Sometimes you lose them, right? You can't win them all, if I can use that expression. So what do you do to try to win back that subscriber that does unfortunately leave your world? What is your formula
Yeah,
for that?
yeah. Well, to harken back to something that you said early on, retention is challenging and challenge accepted. So I look at it as, you know, uh, we need to look at winning folks back based on their reason. When I came on, I think we had a single win back email that went out, and since then we have iterated and we have by their product, if they're print or digital, we have their reason, we have if they were passive or actively churning. And I think that is our game changer. We approach each of our subscribers in the way that they left us. And sometimes that means, we do a letter and we say, we acknowledge you left for this reason, but here's this personal appeal from someone on our team and come back. So what you're looking at here is this is our NSS or part of our NSS win back. So there's a little flow of what that looks like. And I think just having that personalization piece, being able to approach them in a way that they feel seen, really helps to kind of keep them coming back. We'll never stop olive churn. And I think the other piece of that is accepting that. I know that sounds crazy, but go with me here. There is what I call controllable and uncontrollable. Controllable, it could be service issues, it could be, maybe the price wasn't right for the value that they felt that they were getting. Could be, it could be anything along those lines. And then, uncontrollable. People might have health issues they can't read anymore. It could be a payment issue. They don't even realize that they've left. Or I'm sorry, not payment issues. I meant to say that with the first part. Sorry about that. But they could be moving out of state. And so those things, there's nothing we can do, but the controllables are ones that I know I can impact. And so, yeah, I think just coming to terms with your churn will never be zero. And that's okay. I think looking at it like there's unemployment, there will always be a natural rate of unemployment. I think there's a natural rate of churn. So I think all of those pieces play into this and play into the discussion of actually winning folks back and when we do it and how often we do it. I think NSS is great because they have a timeline and they approach you and they say, oh, here's what we suggest, and you can iterate on that. To that and I think we're being proactive as well. I think enabling our pre-expire campaign is going to be really big for us. So I think that's another key piece. That's going to take the place of a grace period campaign, but that's one that we're working on currently with NSS. And so we're even being proactive before we even have to win back.
Well, talk to me about, let's get down to the nitty gritty. You guys are one of the best at getting higher sub pricing that at least I know of. And we've had many, we've done a lot of reporting on what's the price point. It's all over the place. What is your pricing strategy? And PJ, feel free to chime in on this because I'm sure you have input on this as well. Where do you find the sweet spot? What is your secret sauce for getting those higher price subs as well? Mary, I'll start with you. PJ, see if she leaves any gaps you want to fill. Go ahead, Mary.
Yeah, I mean, I think first and foremost, we feel strongly that our product is valuable, and it's valuable not just to us, but to our readers. We have very high quality in-depth journalism. Like I said, we've made a lot of positive change, and we feel strongly about that. And I think going into the pricing conversation and understanding what your product brings is key. We use that with our save strategy too. So And that goes along with, I think, our pricing. We don't want somebody who is highly engaged to get a save rate because they already see the value. They were willing to pay that price before. And then again, we build this foundation. We onboard really strongly and remind our subscribers of the value. We constantly approach them and remind them of this value. So they don't get to the end of their subscription and say, I don't know what I got. I don't know what I just paid for. Um, so that sideboarding of constantly reminding subscribers of what your product brings to their life, I think is really key. And so we've been able to ask for a lot more in some cases, depending on the publisher, and people will continuously, they'll keep paying it because they believe in it. I think when you go into it and you give your subscription away for very low, you're giving this perceived value that it's not worth anymore. And so that's how I've always approached it. But I also really believe that the Post and Courier is worth paying for.
You believe it, but let me ask PJ. I've always made a contention. Remember, I entered this industry obliquely 25 years ago by starting one of the first online newspapers from radio and TV. And I used to work a lot with public media way back in the dark ages, helping with public media always had a good marketing campaign to explain why they existed. They would yell at their audiences, through fear of loss and loss aversion. What would your life be without Sesame Street? We as an industry never marketed ourselves well. Do you agree?
Yeah.
And now that we have the unmitigated gall to ask and beg for subscriptions, I don't know if people really understand the value we bring. Are you guys really marketing well to your markets? How do you sell who you are? And is that part of the strategy to keep these subs,
Yeah.
PJ?
Yeah, I think it all goes together. We do branding campaigns. Right now it's Sunshine Week, so every day, we have a full-blown campaign on investigative journalism and what we reported on throughout the year. That'll tie into, certainly can read the story again. Hopefully you're going to give on the philanthropy side. But our average rate, we do charge right now. We're at $17. It all depends on your market size. That's up 13%. So we're going to have those rate increases. Obviously, we look at where you fall in the funnel, but if it's relevant, I'm going to go back to content. If it's relevant content to you, what doesn't work for us is when we do a low ball, $4 a month type rate, high churn. We're setting the wrong precedent. People expect that then, and so we just don't win in that for our size newspaper. We're not the New York Times where we have the whole U.S. to go after. So really our world is South Carolina. So we really have proven that relevant content, I know that I need you signed up for 2 newsletters. I know that I need your average number of articles that you read per month to be 5+. So all those little metrics are really important. It all feeds back to the relevant content, the relevant headline. So a lot of pieces fall into that. And certainly we market. We brand market, we push stories. So you've got brand and then you've got just performance driven marketing going on at any given time.
So no sales, because when you do that, it diminishes the value. Is that what you're saying? I mean, when you say, hey, you get us for $1 a day or $1, a month, doesn't work.
Yeah, we just see those churn, they're going to get your 50% churn rate and then they're going to come back only if you offer that again. So that just has not worked for us.
There you go. All right, so let's stay with, you mentioned that you don't have the entire United States to market to. You have a definite area that is who you target. And it used to be, a smaller area. Now it's the entire state. So you're in multiple locations and brands throughout South Carolina. What challenges do you face scaling acquisition and retention across? I mean, these are all different size markets, right? So I'll start with you, PJ. Different formulas, right, for each individual city, correct? Is that how you're doing it?
Yeah. So how we went to market was all under, except for you're going to see some community newspapers, but anything that says the Post and Courier, whether it's Spartanburg, Greenville, the main Post and Courier, Charleston, that's all, our same domain / whatever market you might be in. So we went with brand on the main marketing because we knew that we had really strong brand. But within each one of those markets, Mary can send different messaging. We can price each market different, so we can wall those off. And what we will do is, depending on what, if it's a newer market, not established yet, it may be, and the value prop, maybe we have two reporters that we've started out with in that market. The value prop may not be at a $17 or a $15 a month. That may have to start at a $9.99. But it's going to be something then that we move people up and through. So we can wall those individuals off, or we can bring those and have one central marketing message. And I think that's helped.
All right, so we gotta bring this thing home. We're less than 10 minutes to go. I got to give Lon his final pitch, so hang in there, Lon. I want you to get your notes together. But let me ask you, Mary, first, and then I'll the same question to PJ for a final question. What do you say to publishers now watching that aren't looking at these metrics, that aren't taking this seriously, and I know the reason they're saying this. I got enough problems right now. I don't have time for this. I don't think I'm going to focus. What do you say to someone that does not want to take this more seriously, look at these numbers, and put together the programs that will make sub revenue, or you want to call it reader revenue, or just make it a much more viable part of their strategy?
Well, I would say, we've already kind of seen this, but with a different industry, with retail, when they said, change or die, those retailers who didn't make any change when they saw a lot of, e-com kind of take off, the Amazons of the world, they're no longer in business. And we can't afford to do how we've always done. We're 223 plus years old. So it's tempting to just go and publish the news and not worry about anything else. And I think what really is key for us is that we are watching the trends, we're noticing them, but we're also internalizing what are we doing right, what's working, what's not working.
Right.
And we have those conversations about everything that we do. And some people may say, "Oh, I don't have time for that," but you've got to make time, because PJ and I just talked on Tuesday, 1/10 of a point of our churn equaled, so much revenue that we wouldn't have had we not invested in this thing called retention.
PJ, same question.
Yeah, so hire a Mary. We added the Mary position, and I think you're right. We're all busy, and if you left it to, we'd have good intentions, we would have the numbers, but actually executing on this, Mary's ROI for us is incredible, and just knowing that we have her and she can concentrate on this and is an expert in this area, it's meaningful to our company and to our bottom line.
Lon, what say you to a publisher today? It says, okay, I got sold. I see the value of this. I need some turnkey ways to truly make this more of a priority. What say you to that publisher now? How can they at least learn the process and the costs and all that and more? This is your chance to
Absolutely.
shine, Lon. Sell it. Go ahead.
I would say, first of all, congratulations. You took the first step. You came to an E&P Presents webinar. We do this live, and it's available for replay later if you registered. So that's really the first step. I would say there's probably something in the back of your mind or the back of your seat pants that convince you to maybe check out what a world-class audience subscription marketer like the Charleston Post and Courier is doing. And secondly, we are just so humbled that they've chosen us to support their marketing efforts. And if we're still friends after I made that last statement, I'd say, please call me. We're so easy to work with. Our model is unlike any other model that you may have implemented in the past. You truly only pay for results, and when you do better, we do better. It's like Visa, it's like MasterCard. Where we begin, sort of what it looks and feels like, is we do a lot of listening. We do more listening than we do talking, and we really want to hear what your goals are, what your pain points are, and then what's worked well in the past, and what hasn't worked so well in the past. We hear a lot from publishers. I have so few people to deploy against this. Sometimes we'll hear, well, so-and-so is my circulation clerk, but they're busy for 3 months on this program and this, and it becomes a long list of, I don't know what you would call it, excuses. But sometimes you only get one shot at taking great care of a customer. You've got to make a great first impression, and Post and Courier does that. Their new subscribers feel safe with their online cancel intervention. And look, the FTC has cooled on their stance, but one of our very first customers, not our first, but one of our very first customers said, Lon, what I like best about online cancel is it creates a world-class customer experience. And if I'm all about taking care of my customers the best I can, I want to create that world-class experience. And she said, Lon, what I like about NSS is you have the tools to make that happen. From there, we provide an assessment and then recommendations. You see the hub and spoke icon that we talk about a lot. And there's a lot of different areas from which you can choose. And we really feel that they're integrated, that it really isn't a la carte, that if you can find value from one of the spokes, you'll probably find value from all of them. And we're big about reducing your soft costs as well. It's not just reducing hard costs, but your soft costs. For example, if you've got your own in-house SEO, SEM, Google keyword person or persons, they spend a lot of time managing it. They're on the clock. They get benefits, and we do it simply for a fee per success. And then we provide training. We complete the onboarding. We schedule the go live launch, and and then we spend up to 3 hours with clients on the call, on a Zoom. Mary was not exaggerating. Now, are they all 3 hours? No. Some are 5 or 6. No, I'm just kidding. No, they 3 hours is about the max. And the beauty, and I should have put this into chat when you mentioned it, we don't bill by the hour, right? We are not a fractional CMO outfit. You only pay for results. And we're just excited to see all the new names that registered. I also wanted to add that our programs and our hub and spoke work as well with digital as it does with print. I know we haven't talked a lot about the divide between digital and print, but they go both directions equally well. So please reach out. You see my phone number. You've got my email address. Thank you very much, Mary and PJ and Mike. I felt like this has been a wonderful broadcast.
It's our pleasure. Thank you, Lon, for your support of E&P and our mission. And I want to thank my old friend PJ, my new friend Mary, for taking the time not only to tell your story, but to help us get the industry motivated to move forward and make sure they understand the value of this part of the equation. Everyone have a great day. Once again, if you've registered, you'll get a link to the recording. Thank you, and have a very, very good day. We appreciate your time.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, folks.